I'm very happy to be with you today. The first time I'm in Lansing, I think. Lansing. Yeah, nice to be here. And I see it's a Mason Center. The Freemasons. It's a tradition coming from England, from the Middle Ages. Mason means Masonry. They were building churches, but around 1600 they stopped building churches. But they formed communities called the Freemasons. And these members have three purposes, as I remember correctly. The first is to create brothership between the members. But Krishna consciousness is broader. It's universal brothership. Understanding that all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. So yeah, also that purpose, but it's much broader. And the second purpose of the Freemasons is to cultivate brothership and take care of each other. Charity between the members. But again, the Krishna consciousness movement want to give charity to all living entities. That it's again much broader. So that is the two of their purposes. The third goal of the Freemasons is to create members with high values in life. So people who are first class, exemplary in their have moral integrity especially. Srila Prabhupada said the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to create first class people. But yeah, it's very nice. We can have here a program. We should be thankful to them. We are supporting their purposes because their purposes are included. There are also many other traditions who are close to us. Especially in, we have the Prabhupada was in Australia, and he met the followers of Francis from Assisi, that Franciscaner tradition. They are vegetarian, and Francis from Assisi saw all living entities, the moon, everything, as their brothers and sisters. That's Krishna consciousness. All living entities. They are vegetarian today still. Yeah. Prabhupada told them, "You are also Vaishnavas." That was interesting. So today, of course, we want to speak about the highest philosophy, the Krishna conscious philosophy. And we will try to learn something that I would like to speak on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 42. Maybe we can put it on the screen. Chapter 6, 42. And we can repeat the verse. Mata va yoginam eva. Can you make it bigger? Yeah, a little bigger. But we can see the Sanskrit. That's good, yeah. Good. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So you can repeat. Atava yoginam eva. Kuli bhavati dimatam. Etadhi dulabhataram. Loke jamna yatitrisham. I will read the translation. Or if unsuccessful after a long practice of yoga, it takes its birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world. Purport. That, yeah. And read the purport. Bring it also on the screen here. Birth in a family of yogis or transcendentalists, those with great wisdom, is praised herein because the child born in such a family receives a spiritual impetus from the beginning of his life. This is especially the case in the Acharya or Goswami families. Such families are very learned and devoted by tradition and training, and thus they become spiritual masters. In India, there are many such Acharya families, but they have now degenerated due to insufficient education and training. By the grace of the Lord, there are still families that foster transcendentalists generation after generation. It is certainly very fortunate to take birth in such family. Fortunately, both our spiritual master on Vishnupad Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj and our humble self had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord. And both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Later on, we met by the order of the transcendental system. I read the verse again. Atava yoginam neva kulabhavati dimatam etadir durlabhataram loke janmayaditrisham. Or if unsuccessful after a long practice of yoga, it takes its birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Om Mahyanatimandasyā Jnansa Shaka Shakshran Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki. So we are in the 6th chapter of the Gita. What is the 6th chapter about? Someone knows? This? Dhyana Yoga. Yoga of meditation. Yoga. Astanga Yoga system. Why does Krishna start to speak about Astanga Yoga here? The 6th chapter. That before he spoke about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? No one knows. What does yoga means? Yoga means connection with the divine. Karma yoga, work with a connection of the divine. Jagnarta, Karmanoliatra, Lokayam, Karma Vandana. Every activity, Krishna says, should be done as a jagya, a sacrifice for Vishnu. And then one does not give karma, get karma, no karma anymore, no reactions. That's the beginning. That is karma yoga. What happens when one does that? One is still full of material desires and start to work for Krishna. What's going to happen? What happens when you come in contact with Krishna? Please? Your material desires goes. Yeah. You become purified. So when you become a little purified, then you start to think, who am I? I ask many times of people from other religions, according to your religion, what happened before birth? How did you come in this situation? What will happen after death? That very unclear about it. Never clear. Something, yeah, some speculation, so many things. But when one becomes a little purified, then one becomes a little, one's spiritual intelligence becomes a little uncovered. And then some transcendental intelligence comes through. That's Sanatana Goswami said, yeah, who am I? Why am I suffering in this world? Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? Where do I come from? Where do I go? So that happens when you start with serving Krishna in the beginning. Many don't believe in Krishna. It's the divine. Not sure what it is. Something it's some energy, Brahman. But anyway, they start to think. And they start to think, I'm not my hand. I'm not my legs. I'm not my mind. Who am I? And they start to study. They become jnanis. They want to know who they are. I'm spirit. I'm different from matter. So they start to study the difference between spirit and matter. That's a jnani. And they understand I'm not this body, I'm spirit, because I'm going to renounce everything. Good. What is the result of their endeavors? They may realize I'm not a body, that's nice. But then who am I? They want to experience it, to be a spirit soul. What does it mean? And then they take to Ashtanga Yoga. And that brings us to the 6th chapter. Clear? Are we come here? So we are in the 6th chapter. So what is the purpose of Ashtanga Yoga? Eightfold yoga system, starting with Yam, Niyam, Pranayam, Pratyahara, and Dharan, and so on. What's the goal of that? Someone can tell me. What's the goal of the Ashtanga Yoga system? To understand who you are. So one proposal. Other proposals? What's the purpose of Ashtanga Yoga? See Paramatma. Okay. Then that's higher knowledge. You have to know what's Paramatma. Paramatma is Krishna in your heart. You have three aspects of the Absolute Truth. It's explained in the Bhagavatam. Padanta tat tatvavistas tatvam granam atvyam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sapyate. The Absolute Truth has three features where all the Absolute Truth is Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. But all the characteristics of the Absolute Truth are only fully realized in the Bhagavan feature. It's God, the source of everything, and he expands himself all over the universe in every atom. And that's Paramatma. And we are a parcel of Krishna. We are both in the heart, Krishna says in the 13th chapter. There's the kshetra and the kshetrajya. The kshetra is the body, subtle growth. And kshetrajya is one who knows the body. We know our body through the consciousness that comes from the soul. And it's spread through the heart all over the body. But it comes from the soul, that consciousness. So we know the body. But we are not in control of the body, really. Are we in control of the body? A bit? Not much? No? You say no, so much sense? Okay. Anyway, you want to know what Krishna says? That first Krishna speaks about the goal of Astanga Yoga in verse 6-7. Shitatmana prashantatma paramatma samahita. To first Shita Atmana, you have to conquer the mind, control the mind. The mind should not control us, should not control our intelligence or misuse our intelligence. We should control the mind. That's very important. It's not easy. But mostly we think it feels good, let's do it. But that's the mind. A very dangerous situation. That you must control the mind. If you control the mind, means that we are not controlled by the mind. It means the first thing you have to understand, we are not a mind. Many people think, I, my thinking, feeling, willing, that's I am. But Krishna says you should control the mind. What controls the mind? What controls the mind?
Inner energy.
Inner energy. I don't know that. Something else? How do you control your mind? Your mind said, eat, 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 eat. Are you doing that? With your intelligence, you say no. Intelligence must control the mind, right? We should not our mind let overcome by the intelligence. Conditioned means that the mind controls the intelligence. Liberated means that the intelligence controls the mind and makes the mind and the senses act as a spirit soul, not as the body. A deep point. So Shitatmana Prashantashma. If you control the mind and the mind becomes purified by material desires, by this process of Astanga Yoga, that process of Astanga Yoga, to get rid of all these material desires, how do they do that? It's called pranayama. And pratyahara. Pranayama means breathing exercises. Gradually, but it takes many, many lifetimes, usually. Yeah, in the next verse, it explains Bharat Maharaj. How many lifetimes did he need? Bharat Maharaj. Every Indian must know that Bharat, right? Bharat Maharaj, how many lifetimes did he need to attain perfection? 3. The first was Bharat Maharaj, and in his next life he became a deer. In his third lifetime, Chad Bharat. And then he got perfection. 3 lifetimes he needed. But he was situated in Bhakti Yoga. In Ashtanga Yoga, it's many lifetimes. It's very difficult to control the mind. But when the mind becomes peaceful, Paramatma Samaita, what happens? You come in contact with the super soul. Krishna says, Sarvashyaham Ridishan Vishti Mata Shmiti Mata Shmiti Pan Yoamsam. Yeah, Jnanam Mamsam. That Krishna is Sarvashyaham Ridishan Vishti, I mean in your heart. For me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Can you determine? I will remember that the next moment. I come in many places, sometimes after a few years, and I pray to Krishna in the heart, please give me the name of that devotee I forgot. We cannot control it. Will I remember? Will I not? It depends on Krishna. All knowledge that you have and the remembrance of it depends on Krishna. You can exercise your memory and so on. Good chance you will remember. But there is no absolute surety you will remember. How do we know Krishna is in the heart? How do we know? Someone tell me. I ask you a question. Who controls his heartbeat? Someone controls his heartbeat? No? Who controls? It's Paramatma. After the program here, you will take spiritual food prasadam, right? And then you will digest. Do you know how it goes? I remember a doctor explaining the whole process of digestion and all the enzymes that are created and all things. It's so complicated. Are you controlling all these things? You are saying, no, this enzyme must be created and so on. No? No? Who does it? That's Paramatma. That's the energy that does it, Paramatma. You may not believe in God is good, but you should understand there's an energy that controls that. And that's Paramatma. That we call Paramatma. That it makes your heart beat. It makes good. It makes your blood going to all the veins everywhere. That Krishna goes further in Bhagavad Gita. He says, while opening your eyes, closing your eyes, by walking, by speaking, only the senses are engaged with their objects. And that's controlled by material nature. And material nature is controlled by Paramatma. So I'm speaking. Am I speaking or is Paramatma speaking? He says Paramatma. It's a cooperation between us and Paramatma. The spirit soul desires to speak that. And Krishna makes it working if we have the right karma for it. That It's a cooperation. So are we the doer? We are also the doer by desiring. But Krishna is the ultimate doer. He moves all the energies. If one understands that, one becomes a bit Krishna conscious. But anyway, that's the. But to come to that point, to come in contact with Paramatma, the mind must be purified, or the heart must be purified of all these material desires. That's a subtle body must be purified. We have a subtle body. Suksma Sarira, subtle body, made of buddhi, manas, ahankar. Yeah, so we are not the intelligence. We are not the mind. We are not the false ego. That the mind is an instrument we use. Right? We use that instrument. And the mind should be directed by the intelligence. And the intelligence should be directed by the soul. The soul, in its liberated state, has its own intelligence, thinking, feeling, and willing. That's called spiritual intelligence. Prabhupada explains that in the purport of 176 in the Bhagavatam. In the unconditioned state, that the living entity has its own thinking, feeling, and willing. But that's spiritual. What is spiritual thinking, feeling, and willing? And what is material thinking, feeling, and willing? A spirit souls, Krishna says, because he says in Bhagavad Gita, Savasya, Prabhava Mata Sarvam Pavartasi. I'm the source of all material and spiritual worlds. And we come from the spiritual world. We are higher energy. And we are now captivated by the lower energy. Is that a good idea? If we become controlled by the lower energy, if we are higher energy? No, it leads to suffering. The soul is made of three substances, Sat, Chit, Ananda. What does that mean, Sat? Eternal. Is the body eternal? No. Chit, full of knowledge. Are we full of knowledge here? We don't even know who we are. Ananda, the spirit soul is Ananda, full of happiness. Is the body full of happiness? No. The body is a machine to give you pain. That's what it is. It's a machine to give you pain. It's a machine that can be used for making spiritual advancement. It's a good machine, but it will give you pain. When you are young, you don't believe it. But Chaitanya Maharaj, he used to say to the young people, don't become old. It's not good, don't do it. But yeah, what can you do? But that's our situation. We belong to the spiritual world. Then, so how in the spiritual world, Ananda, always pleasure. But it's not a pleasure of this world. It's a pleasure of the soul. It's of a different nature. It's spiritual ecstasy that one gets by serving God out of love. Spiritual ecstasy. So yes, that is our situation. How did we come here in the material world? That if we are from the spiritual world, please. Karma that When we were in the spiritual world, we didn't have karma. Was not there, no. That
We have a desire to enjoy separately from Krishna.
the desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. It did not start really with a gross desire immediately, because we are in the spiritual world. Where can that desire come from? But we told Krishna, we are a little curious, Krishna. How would it be to be just? How would it be to be Krishna? And Krishna said, you really want to experience that? And we said, yes, we want to experience that. Okay, Krishna said, but there's one problem. I'm God, but no problem. I will bring you in illusion so that you forget me. Otherwise, there is no fun. But I will fulfill your desire, but you cannot use your spiritual body for that. Spiritual body is also only used for spiritual activities, for devotional service. But no problem, I will give you a material body, a subtle material body and a gross material body. And then you can play God as you want, but you must be responsible if you want to be God. Every action will get a reaction. So everything that exists is the kingdom of God. So we are in the kingdom of God, that's the good news. What's the bad news? We are in the prison section. That's where we are. That a dark cloud in the spiritual sky. That's where we are. And like you go into the prison, you get new clothes, undergarments and other garments. So you get underwear, and our underwear is a subtle body, and the overcoat is a gross body. And here we are. The yoga, so what's the cause of all things? How we have forgotten Krishna. That's explained in the Bhagavatam. Brahma explains that. The cause is tamas. We have forgotten Krishna. And the next step is, because we have forgotten Krishna, who is Krishna? Bhaktram Chakratapasam Sarvalokamashvaram Suradam Sarvabhutinam Gatvam Santarichyati. Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Is the proprietor of everything. If you are the proprietor, can you enjoy your property? Yes. If you are not a proprietor, can you enjoy another's property? I'm going to in the house of my neighbor and say, I will live here now, thank you. What will the neighbor do? He will call the police. Yeah. And some man with white coats will bring you out. That is what happens. But we forgot who is the proprietor, and we think, oh, we are the owner, the proprietor. And therefore I can enjoy that. I can enjoy my property. I'm the enjoyer. So, but you cannot enjoy what's yours, but not yours. And then it goes further. I want to enjoy, and that is mine. And we have become attached to it. But factually, nothing is ours. Was something yours before you took birth? And after you die, something is yours? No, it's not. But we think this is mine. What's happened when you think this is mine? Your suffering starts because you are attached. If you think this is, I bought a brand new car, this is my car. I think this is my car. Someone comes in and says, I saw outside two cars bumping into each other frontal collision. You say, oh, that happens every day. We are not concerned with that. But if someone comes inside and says, I just saw someone bumping into your car, my car, but then it's serious. That's a serious thing. I feel already the pain because I think it's mine. So of this idea of mine, suffering. And you suffer, the suffering comes in the mind, attachment and aversion. And that attachment and aversion comes from that idea of mine. And that's a contamination of our consciousness. We think things are mine, for my enjoyment. And that creates lust in the body. And that's attachment and aversion. We are attached to what gives pleasure to the body and the mind. And we are averse to that what gives distress. And our lives becomes a whole thing to bring this in balance. But it makes you identify with the body, which we are not. And that's the fifth illusion. Anatta Mishra. When the body dies, you think, I'm dying. But the body is that matter. We are the soul within the body. So now we understand what's contamination, right? Now we have to remove that contamination by yoga. You have different yoga systems. And here, Ashtanga yoga is explained to purify ourselves from all these misconceptions, this attachment. That's the purpose. And one has controlled the mind. And Krishna explains that to Arjuna. And Arjuna is saying, Krishna, I cannot do that. That's not for me. Controlling this mind, it's like controlling the wind. If there is a wind outside, and you go outside and you say to the wind, stop, will the wind stop? No. Say, I cannot do it. And what is the answer of Krishna? Krishna says, yes, you can do it. By the right, with detachment and suitable practice, he says. Suitable practice, interesting. Prabhupada in the purport explains what suitable practice is for this age. It's especially the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's one process. That also we have other processes that is hearing about Krishna, hearing transcendental knowledge. We need a transcendental knowledge to control the mind, to direct the mind. And that's hearing. What are we doing now? We are learning something from Bhagavad Gita, but also the Bhagavad Purana, Bhagavatam, very important to learn all the spiritual techniques, how to progress in that. But Arjuna is still not convinced, and he says, Krishna, because Arjuna thinks I'm not going to make it. Especially this Ashtanga yoga process. Prabhupada explains in a lecture, Arjuna 5,000 years ago could not do it. He could not do it. And Arjuna was 1,000 times more qualified than all of us. So how can we do it? No chance. But we can chant Hare Krishna in this age. And hear the Bhagavatam, that worship the deity, that's also a spiritual process. And offer our food to Krishna and take prasad, that's also purifying. They are all purifying processes. That in other ages, there were fire yagyas. And in Satya Yuga, the process was meditation. Everyone was more pure in heart than in this age. Kali Yuga is a very difficult age. So many issues, so many problems. It's characterized in the Bible to say Kali Yuga, Parinalpayusa Sabakala Vasmichinan Sugejana, the Mandasamana Matayo, Bhagya Upadrita. Manda Bhagya Upadrita. Upadrita, everyone is disturbed in mind in this age. And it's short-sighted, sees only the moment of enjoyment, but cannot understand how they came there. They cannot understand their previous life, their next life. The only concern is, let me enjoy now. And what happens afterwards, no concern with the next life, whether they will become an animal or no concern. And thus this age. But if we follow this process, the spiritual process, and start to chant Hare Krishna, associate with devotees, hearing transcendental knowledge, learn how to practice spiritual life, and we are serious, we are committed, then we are serious yogis. If we are a little, we go up and down in the process, sometimes we chant, sometimes not, and then there will not much progress. Some progress is there. Because those who come to these programs and chant Hare Krishna and are favorable to the movement, that's good. Krishna says that in this process there is no diminution and no loss. And it protects one from the greatest danger. What's the greatest danger? That is to become an animal in our next life. The human life is not guaranteed. If you use the human life for sense gratification, which is also free there for animals, you may not get the human form again. But one who follows this process, even you follow it for some time, you give it up, Krishna says you are protected from the greatest danger. So in your next life, you will attain at least the human form of life. That's a consolation prize. And Arjuna is asking, if we don't make it, what happens? And Krishna gives two answers. That is the second answer, that verse that we are discussing today. In the first answer, Krishna says, for yogis who are not really serious and who are going up and down and give it up after some time, they will go to the heavenly planets, Krishna says, higher planetary systems, but still in this universe, have some enjoyment there in the heavenly planets until their good karma is finished. And then they come back to this earth and take birth in a rich family, or a rich family, or a family which is pious. And then they can again continue with their devotional life, with their spiritual life if they want. But devotees who are serious in our movement, they fall in the category of the long practice. And Krishna speaks about that here. That one who is unsuccessful after a long practice takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists, and who are surely great in wisdom. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, I was in that case. My father was, Mohan was a pure devotee of Krishna. And also my spiritual master was in that case. His father, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj, his father was Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So that's interesting. Srila Prabhupada, he took birth, and as a child, he was hearing his father one day doing the puja, ringing the bell. That Prabhupada was very special. He was 5 years old. I've been there in Calcutta together with my spiritual master, Bhakti Charamaj. We visited all the places where Srila Prabhupada had lived and where his pharmacy was, his apartment, and Scottish College, everything. But very first met his spiritual master. And that it was in 96 we visited there. But right at the other side of the street from where they were living was the Muliks temple. And in the Muliks temple, was a wealthy family, the Muliks. They were worshipping deities, Radha Govinda. And they are still there. I saw the deities, and the temple is still there. It has been sponsored by ISKCON also. And he said Prabhupada was 4 years old, 3-4 years old. He was a toddler. And he was standing for the deities, gazing at the deities for hours. An ordinary child cannot do that. He was 5 years and his father organized the Ratha Yatra in the street. That then all the mothers were cooking and offering prasad, and the children were going up and down with the chariot in the street, and they were distributing prasad. Someone asked Prabhupada that it said, what was the earliest moment you remember you became Krishna conscious? An interesting question. Prabhupada's answer was, I cannot remember any moment in my life that I was not Krishna conscious. That's quite a deep answer. It means he was not an ordinary personality. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the father of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he prayed for help in his mission to spread Krishna consciousness, to help with the printing, distribution of literature. And what was the answer? He understood when Bhaktisiddhanta was born as Bimal Prasad, was because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a deputy magistrate, and he was in charge of the Jagannath Puri temple. And during the Ratha Yatra, the cart stopped before the door, and his wife Bhagavati took the baby, that's Bimal Prasad, put them at the lotus feet of Jagannath, and a garland fell over him from Jagannath. So immediately Bhaktivinoda understood, this is the son I prayed for. Krishna sent me this son. That interesting. Many years later, it was 1921, I think, Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj in Calcutta. His friend told him, you must go to see this sadhu. Prabhupada did not want to see the sadhus because all these sadhus that his father father invited, he could see they were not serious. They were pseudo sadhus, smoking bidis and so on. But anyway, so he was not impressed by so-called sadhus. And he went to see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. And the first thing that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said was, you intelligent man, you should spread the message of Lord Chaitanya, of Krishna, in English-speaking world, all over the world. Why did Prabhupada say that to? But why saw Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Prabhupada say that? Why did he say that to Srila Prabhupada? because he recognized him. Krishna has sent me him, that he's my eternal associate. Means Prabhupada was sent from the spiritual plane. These great souls can recognize that. And what did Prabhupada say? He was a follower of Gandhi. He said, how can we spread the message of Lord Chaitanya if we are still ruled by the British? And what was the answer of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said? He said, rulers will come and go, but the spreading of Krishna consciousness is urgent. Out of compassion for all living entities, we must do it. Interesting. Then, many years later, 1977, that was the last year Prabhupada was with us. He was in Allahabad. There was the Kumbh Mela. And after the Kumbh Mela, a life member had donated or arranged for a carriage, because that life member had a high position at the Indian railways. And he arranged a special carriage for the devotees. And my spiritual master was there, Bhakti Charamaj. He was not initiated at that time. He was Bhakta Kishore. And he was traveling with Bhavananda Maharaj, who was in charge more or less of Mayapur at that time. And he said to Bhakta Kishore, do you want to meet Prabhupada? And he said, yes. And said, come with me. And they went to the compartment where Prabhupada was sitting with two others. Prabhupada was sitting on one side and two sannyasis at the other side. And Bhavananda opened the door and pushed Bhakta Kishore in. He fell on his knees before Prabhupada. And Prabhupada told him, you sit here on the coach with me. But he didn't want to sit on the same level as Prabhupada. Finally, these two sannyasis make space at the other side. And what was the first thing that he said to him? He said, you are an educated man. You should translate my books in Bengali. That was the first meeting. No conversation before. They didn't know each other, but they understood Krishna has sent this eternal associate. And that is very special, these births. These are very elevated births. What purity should we have to go back to the spiritual world? Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, if we are 90% purified from these material desires, that will Krishna accept us? And Prabhupada said, yes. And then the devotee asked, and 85%. And Prabhupada said, yes, but it would not go lower than 80%. So we must be pure to a certain level. And what happens then when we are nearly pure? Are we going back to the spiritual world? To go back to the spiritual world, you must be 100% pure. So how does it work? We have many examples here. We have in the next verse, you have Jat Bharat. It needs 3 lifetimes. But in the Bhagavatam, you have Narada Muni's story from his previous life. In 1 lifetime, he got it, his spiritual body back. We have also the story of Dhruva Maharaj in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam. Even back also in 1 lifetime. Prabhupada said many times, become serious in your Krishna consciousness. Don't let me come back. Go back in this lifetime. In this lifetime. Interesting, there's a conversation between Srila Prabhupada and what is his name? That I got his name before, that the big poet from in the years of 50, no, 1950s, he was the LSD prophet, Allen Ginsberg. Allen Ginsberg so met Prabhupada because they were friends, because Allen Ginsberg liked also the chanting of Hare Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada told them about the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, which describes this age, Kali Yuga. And at the end of this Kali Yuga, which lasts for 432 years, the 432,000 years, 5,000 years have passed now. But at the end of Kali Yuga, horrible things are going to happen. That's described in the Bhagavatam. And Allen Ginsberg asked Prabhupada, and what with your disciples? Will they still be around? What was the answer of Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, no, they will go back to Godhead in this lifetime. So that is our hope. That, but it's described in the Bhagavatam, in the Ramayana. Ramayana, 2 million years ago, Satya Yuga, or Treta Yuga, I think, that Ramayana. Lord Ram was visiting the Dandakaranya forest. And there were sages in the Dandakaranya forest, and they were very advanced. They were in that category, 80% pure, 85%. Or 90. And they had developed already their spiritual attachment. And they said to Lord Ram, we want to have a relationship with you. In Madhurya Ras, like the gopis in Krishna's pastime. And Lord Ram said, not possible with me, not possible. Eka Patni, I've made a vow, only one wife, Sita. But I'm coming back in 2 million years, at the end of Dvapara Yuga. And then you can have that relationship with me when I come as Krishna. And they all took birth in the wombs of gopis. And they were 80, 85, 90% pure. And there they were trained up further by the eternal associates of Krishna. And they attained perfection. So if we are 80, 85% pure, we are transferred to a universe where Krishna is his pastimes. And that's already a spiritual birth. And then we are trained further. But yes, there's much more to say about that. This is a bit esoteric, but we should first try to understand I'm not his body, and try to purify our mind of all this contamination by a yogic process. And the most potent yogic process is Bhakti Yoga. That is the most powerful. That it takes some time before the heart becomes purified. I'm practicing for 35 years now. It starts to go a little better. So there is hope. Any questions, comments? You think that was helpful? What I thought? Yeah.
Question is like how the Khatwang Maharaj got the perfection in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so how is it that Khatwang Maharaj got perfection in a moment? Katvanga Maharaj, he was fighting on behalf of the demigods to destroy the demons, to fight against the demons. So this is the Star Wars going on in this universe. There are the heavenly planets, but there are also wars with the demons. It's not so in heavenly place, but anyway. But Katvanga Maharaj was helping them. And after the fight was over and the demons were conquered, then the demigods wanted to give him a benediction. But Katvanga Maharaj was quite intelligent and said, you want to give me a benediction, but how long do I have still to live? And the demigod said, only a moment. And he thanked the demigods, I don't need your benediction. And became very serious and fixed his mind on Krishna. He understood. He was a devotee of Krishna. That's my only way. And he attained perfection. Someone asked Prabhupada, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada said, a moment, just a moment. How can we understand this? What is the desire? What is the function of the soul? That the symptom is consciousness, the action is desire. We must, so coming from material life to spiritual life is changing our desire, desire for material things. We have to give that up, and we must cultivate a desire to become attached to Krishna. It's only change of desire, factually, Krishna consciousness. And we have the desire to think of Krishna. If we really want, we can think now of Krishna. But the problem is, so Prabhupada said, just a moment. If we really want, we can think of Krishna. But the problem is, you have also to think the next moment, and the next moment, and the next moment. And because our heart is contaminated, the mind comes in this duality of good and bad and takes us away. And therefore we cannot do it. But factually, it is just a moment if we really desire it. And Katvanga Maharaj, he was not an ordinary soldier. He was fighting in Krishna consciousness. He practiced always Krishna consciousness. And therefore, he could think of Krishna at the end of his life and attain perfection. He did service for Krishna. The demigods do also service for Krishna. But the demigods of the demigod service and Katvanga's service was different. The demigods want something in return. Katvanga Maharaj did not want anything in return. And consequently, when the demigods asked him to give benediction, he said, wait a minute. Do I really need that? How long do I have still to live? So forget it. I take Krishna consciousness. So it's not by chance that we think of Krishna at the end of our lives. We must have practiced to it through our lives. And Katvanga was a devotee. Factually, the demigods are also devotees, but they are sakam devotees. They want something in exchange. But Katvanga Maharaj did not want anything in exchange. Is that okay? Thank you.
More question?
Yeah.
Like the purity, we should be pure, 85% or 80%. So how do I know how much percentage of pure I am?
Yeah, the question is, how much percent am I pure? That it's nothing
You know
to.
the fever, you have 108 degree or 102 degree, 105 degree. you can go for the medication accordingly.
Yeah.
If you know that you have contaminated up to certain level, then contaminated can be cured.
The first question is, am I in anartha-nivriti? Is my communication, is my contamination going? Do I become purified? That's the first question. We can speak about 80, 89%, but first thing is, do I become purified? How do you know you become purified?
What percentage? What
No, how do you know you become purified? What happens in your heart when you become purified? What changes? How do you know? What's the symptom that you become purified?
right?
Please.
Like if you are the writing the books, the examiner should be somebody else. So then if I'm going for my test, so then examiner will let me know this much you got.
No. You have to know it yourself on what level you are. How do you know on what level you are? How do you know you become purified? That's a very important question. That's explained in the Bhagavatam. We become purified when we get taste. That's the first symptom. You chant and you get taste, you want to chant more. Second symptom is you become more and more happy and detached from this world. And that all these symptoms are explained in the Bhagavatam, in the 12th. Yeah. Okay. Anything? If there's something else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we have some material commitments as well as we have some as we want to be spiritual, so we have some spiritual commitments. So how we can balance those all things and become advanced in our spiritual?
Yeah, you are saying we have material commitments and spiritual commitments. You have also to spiritualize your material commitments. That how do you do that? Prabhupada explains as a dovetailing technique. You must do it for the pleasure of Krishna. You do your job, you should understand, Prabhupada said, we have been put in that position by Krishna, and Krishna wants us to do that job, but we should do it for Krishna, and therefore it must be first class, everything you do. Internally, you do it as an offering to Krishna. Don't tell it to your boss, no need. But internally, you must do it for Krishna. And your salary, you must be using for Krishna. That's the second thing. That's dovetailing. 35 years ago, I was an accountant. I was doing input of the computer. And I had with me Bhagavad Gita. I was memorizing verses while I was repeating verses while I was doing the input. Sometimes I had difficulties in my job. I prayed to Krishna, please help me. I'm doing it for you. I promise you, I will give you the salary. I will buy boga for you, cook for you, and so on. And donations to the temple. I'm doing it for you, but help me, Astabli, please. So it doesn't need an inner attitude. The inner attitude, it's not activity itself. That's spiritual. You make it spiritual by your intention. Intention is important. Intention by which you do things makes it either material or spiritual. This desire, intention, and that's how you spiritualize. Does that help? Something else?
How I could, so how I could develop my more attachment or more, how I could increase my chanting, because I think that I don't get that much taste to chant more and more.
Yeah.
So how I can
It means you chant and you don't get taste, right? That is a symptom of chanting with offenses. Chanting with offenses is you don't have the inner proper mentality. What's the inner mentality? Dočitanje se trinata pišnečne aurora visešne amana manadina kirtanya sadari na danam na janam na sundrim kavta vashi shikami mamacha mamicha mamishkare bhavta bhaktira height itfai. The proper mentality is one must be more humble than a straw in the street, more tolerant than a tree. That don't ask respect for oneself. Give all respect to others. Don't want wealth in this world. Just what you need. That don't want wealth. Don't want relations with the opposite sex. All these lusty affairs are going to intervene with the process of devotional service. And don't want followers. Lord Chaitanya said, don't want even liberation. Just act out of love for God, for Krishna. That's the purity. So therefore we must chant. We chant, comes out of our mouth, the holy name, but our mind is somewhere else. Then we are not chanting. The consciousness should be there. Consciousness should be there. If the consciousness should not be there, you are not there. You are not chanting. Your lips are moving. It's not that we chant, we look at our mobile phone, or we chant and we think, oh, I'm making my shopping list. No, that's not going to help. But to chant properly, one must be situated in Sambandha Jnana, knowledge of one's relationship with Krishna, knowledge that I'm a servant of Krishna. And if we are not in that set of mind, then we make offenses. If we chant to get a good life in this life, to get a good situation for the body and the mind, that's not the purpose of the chanting. Chanting will not help with that. That this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, full of misery and temporary. That's not the purpose of the chanting. The purpose of the chanting is to make a solution forever, to get out of this situation, get out of here, get out of that material consciousness. We are identifying with this mind, which we are not. And all this misery comes to this mind, which we are not. Because we are identified with this mind, we think the suffering is ours. And our suffering is without end. When I was 5 years old, I had a toothache, terrible toothache. And a little friend came to play with me, with soldiers. And we engaged in the play. And during the play, no toothache was gone. But the play was finished, it came back. So if we identify with the pain and we concentrate on it, it becomes worse. Because we identify with the body and the mind, but we have to come to transcendental consciousness. Transcendental consciousness, we try to explain today, is controlling the mind, not identifying with the mind. The mind is like a screen, an inner screen, that like someone is in a cinema hall and sees so many things on the screen. Sometimes people on the screen are laughing, and in the cinema hall, everyone is laughing. And then you have on the screen a drama happens, everyone starts to cry. And in the cinema hall, also everyone starts to cry. But on the screen are only some lights. That's all. They feel emotionally connected. The screen is, that is the mind like a screen. If we identify with the screen, then we identify with the body. And that's very strong. And we get out of it by this process of devotional service. By this process of devotional service, you come to transcendental consciousness. When we chant, do we chant with the mind? No. Prabhupada says it's a transcendental sound vibration. It's going to the ear, directly to the soul. The mind should be out of the way. Just hearing with attention. Engage the mind in hearing with attention. That's all. It's very simple. But we cannot do it because we are so busy with other things. And that's the problem. No taste in the chanting means not that you are not in anartha-nivriti. Your heart doesn't become much purified, a little. It helps also, but a little, and it will be very, very slow. But if you become serious in avoiding these offenses, we must change our mentality. This mentality that we are the body we have created for innumerous lifetimes. It's become a second habit to identify ourselves with the mind. It's very strong. But this process of devotional service will break that. But we have to give up these offenses. And how to give up these offenses is hearing the Bhagavatam, hearing about Krishna, hearing about all these devotees described in the Bhagavatam, and discussing and trying to understand the spiritual techniques explained in it and apply them. And that combination with the chanting, that will help us. It's very potent. So you have not only to chant, you have to hear, and you have to do devotional service, bring it in practice. And gradually, you will get the mercy as you please the spiritual master. That's the essence. So we have to be patient. How long are you chanting? Please?
More than 16 years.
16 years. I have 35. That, I must say that my consciousness changes. My consciousness is not the same as 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago. It changes. It's like you look in the mirror, and the next day you look in the mirror and you say nothing changed. But 10 years later you look in the mirror and compare it with 10 years before, a big change. And that's how it changes. Every day you chant Hare Krishna, something changes. And if you continue chanting, you will get the mercy at a certain time and make advancement with patience and trying to apply it properly and praying for the mercy to the spiritual master. Very important. I hope that helps. Okay. Does it help? Yeah. Okay. You have some ideas what to do now?
Sometimes become that must, because sometimes I feel that this chanting is proper, but most of the time I think that this chanting is not that much proper.
Yeah. But Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he was once working on in a temple in his room, and devotees were discussing something outside his room. And Maharaj came out of the room and asked, and devotees, what are you discussing? And the devotee said the same thing as you said. Maharaj, I'm chanting now for many years, and I feel I don't make spiritual advancement. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, that's very good. If you would think you have become a great devotee, that would be a problem. So the most advanced devotee thinks himself the most fallen. But we cannot imitate that. That is to come. So factually, it's a good symptom what you give, that you think you are not making advancement. That's humble. But there's also another aspect. A devotee said to Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. Prabhupada replied, you are not the most of anything. So it's just false ego. But another time, a devotee asked Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. And Prabhupada said, yes, and what are you going to do about it? So we must have the endeavor also. That is important. But finally, that is a good sign if we feel, yeah, I could do better. That's humility. Yeah. But at the same time, there are the symptoms of spiritual advancement in the Bhagavatam, in the 12th chapter, verses 14 till 20, all symptoms of liberated souls. And you have also chapter 13, verses 8 to 12, 20, 21 qualities of those who are becoming purified. You can study them and look, am I developing them? You can see yourself that at the end of the 14th chapter, Arjuna is asking Krishna, what are the symptoms of one who has transcended the modes of nature? And Krishna gives a whole list. You can look at these symptoms. In the 2nd chapter, Arjuna is asking, what are the symptoms of a sthita prajna? And he gives 20 verses with symptoms of devotees. So you can check with yourself. These are checklists and see. And if some qualities you find you are lacking, you should ask a question. How am I going to develop that? You should be painstakingly in devotional service to want to make spiritual advancements. If Krishna says that we are really willing, he will help us. And we have to pray to Krishna and to spiritual master, please, beg for mercy. Hope against hope. And finally, Krishna will be merciful. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you. Okay. We will stop here because it has been a long journey. Thank you. Jai Prabhupada.
So,